Now, the slight problem is it's not very easy. They're all very strong personalities. They all have their own opinions on how your paperwork should be written, a whole load of issues. So the key thing that mistakes that I made and what I then learned from them was you've got to have a key investor out of that book that is going to lead the process. You've got to have one person that is the reference point out of all those angels. Now, it helps if that's someone known in the industry that the other angels will defer to in their responses, because otherwise your solicitor, when it comes to writing up the paperwork and arguing over the various clauses in the contracts, is going to have an absolute nightmare. So a quick story related to this was, in our first round, I actually was going to take 2 angels' money, and 3 days before we closed it, one of them suddenly decided he wanted to bring on 3 other of his friends to help him lower the risk. Now, if you've just spent the last 2 months getting the paperwork right for just 2 people, you're not going to suddenly change it. So it just shows you how quickly it can change, how volatile it can be with just, these are individuals with their individual passions on how things are done. That's how he wanted to do it. He always tended to share investments between people. So we had to basically kick him out. It resulted, luckily, that my first angel was prepared to step up to the plate and cover the whole amount.
A couple minutes left.
Sorry. So key thing was build a plan. It sounds so simple, but it's looking at what are your steps over the first 3 months of you wanting to raise money. What are you going to put together? What events are you going to actually go to? Obviously, you've got to hone your pitch, and you need to work out what the best spread of your time, around the country, around London. How are you going to do it? Are you going to be sending emails out to various places to try and get exposure? Are you going to have a budget and then spread that between various different networks to actually then go and pitch it in front of as many as possible? The key thing is to actually have a plan right from the start to actually and try and stick to that deadline. And the key thing for me was I have a fantastic relationship with the first angel. He's an old tooth in the software. He's extremely useful to me in terms of operational experience. But the last thing you want to do when you in this industry is you work so closely with your angel that you've got to get on with them in some way. And with angels, the valuation is what you want to try and set. You're basically making it up at that point, or both of you are making it up. So it's what you can get. And lastly for me, we've had 2 different experiences with solicitors, one fantastic, one terrible, and get out there and actually take recommendations. There's probably plenty in this room that have people they would recommend because it does make the experience much, much more pleasant to deal with. That's it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nick. Quick questions, anybody who would like to, has anybody got an experience of okay, good, and Mike, maybe someone else has got some experience of feedback that they can share.
Hey, Nick, just a quick question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that business angels are often very strong characters, and I experienced the same. How did you stop them from trying to design your product with you or influencing the way you design the product, or maybe that didn't even happen in your case?
I think I'm reasonably lucky in that although our angels are in software, they don't really have experience in Web 2. So what they try and bring to the board is the experience of how they've previously got companies to grow, the fundamentals, not the actual they haven't invested in you if they're going to try and change the product. If they start trying to change the product, then they're the wrong person.
Question here.
Asking on behalf of all of the entrepreneurs in the room, if there are any angels here, could they please stand up?
There you go, invisible, invisible.
The invisible man.
They are actually standing up, it's just that they're invisibly standing up. As a question, we've just got time for one more. Oh, okay, 2 more and that's it.
Just a quick comment. We raised angel money at the end of last year, and one thing that I didn't know when we were going through this process is a lot of the big institutional VC funds actually have either an angel fund on the side or a small kind of small partners fund. And we ended up taking money from angels and a huge VC fund in the US, and they don't even publicize that they do this. So that's another opportunity. We just talked to everyone we could, and turns out one of them was willing to make a small investment.
I think that's the key point there, talk to everyone.
Question, yeah?
Lucian from Brady Talent. A quick question around boards, board representation. If you had 10 angels there, how many do you offer non-execs and board places?
Yeah, I mean, the key here is you don't have a board that's bigger than the company. That would be obviously ridiculous. So we have one nominated from the 10 angels. Because it's an institution as well, we have an observer, and so we have 2 NEDs and 1 observer. It's beyond that, for a small company, it gets ridiculous.
Okay, well, I'm really sorry. We're just going to have to move on. One quite final.
Nick, how do you structure the share ownership with that many angels? Do they have voting rights? No,
so obviously individually they wouldn't really add up to much between them, and so what they do is their only right is as part of having a representative on the board who can then have a equal vote amongst the non-exec directors. So they individually, unless it's selling the company, and then they can obviously they do that on just a per share basis. But otherwise, you have to reduce it down to some sort of voting system.
Excellent. Thank you very much to Nick. And